A Call to Adventure. Chapter 1. The Letter in the Bookshop. It was a quiet afternoon in the small bookshop on Maple Street. Clara loved coming here after school. She liked the smell of old books and the sound of pages turning. But today, something was different. As she opened an old book, a piece of paper fell out. "What's this?" she whispered, picking up the paper. It was a letter, but not just any letter. It was written in many different languages. Some words she could understand, like secret and journey, but others were a mystery. Clara looked around. No one else had noticed her discovery. Her heart beat faster as she read the first line. "If you can read this, your adventure begins." "Adventure?" she said aloud. The shopkeeper, an elderly man named Mr. Green, looked up. "Did you find something interesting, Clara?" he asked. "I think so, Mr. Green. But I don't understand all the words," Clara replied. She showed him the letter. Mr. Green adjusted his glasses and read the first few lines. "This is unusual. It talks about a treasure, something called the Tower of Babel," he said, his voice low and serious. "The Tower of Babel? What is that?" Clara asked, her curiosity growing. "It's an ancient legend," Mr. Green explained. "They say it's a place where all languages were once united. But this letter, it looks like a puzzle." Clara's mind raced. "A puzzle?" "Yes," Mr. Green said. "To solve it, you will need to learn more than one language." Clara stared at the letter again. She recognized a few more words, like find, hidden, and truth. The rest was still unclear. "Can I do this?" she asked herself. What do you think, reader? Can Clara solve the mystery? What would you do if you found a letter like this? Just as Clara was about to ask another question, the shop's bell rang. A stranger walked in, his eyes locked on Clara. "Excuse me," he said. "That letter, it's not yours." Chapter 2, A Map of Words. Clara held the letter tightly. It was worn and fragile, like an old secret waiting to be told. The symbols on the paper were strange and confusing, written in a language she had never seen before. But one thing was clear, this was only the beginning. In a small cafe, Clara met Alex, a historian who specialized in ancient scripts. He was tall, with a sharp mind and a love for puzzles. Clara placed the letter on the table. "Do you know what this says?" she asked. Alex leaned closer, studying the symbols carefully. "These are parts of many languages," he said, pointing to different sections. "Some words are in Latin, others in Greek. But this..." He paused, tracing his finger over a strange mark. "This is something else. Something very old." Clara's heart raced. "Can we decode it?" Alex nodded slowly. "Yes, but it will take time. And patience." They spent hours in Alex's study, surrounded by books and maps. He explained each step as they worked. "This word here means door," Alex said, tapping the page. "Door?" Clara repeated, her voice steady but unsure. "Yes." "Say it again." "Door." "Door," Clara echoed. They practiced the word several times until Clara could say it smoothly. Then Alex moved to the next word. And this means key. Key? Clara repeated, frowning slightly. Yes. Say it again. Key. Key, Clara said, this time more confidently. As the night deepened, they found a pattern in the words. Together, they formed a message: find the map. The map will lead you. Clara looked at Alex, her eyes wide with excitement. The map? What map? Before Alex could answer, the sound of footsteps echoed outside the door. They both froze. Did you hear that? Clara whispered. Alex nodded, his face tense. We're not alone. Chapter 3: The Keeper of Words. Clara and Alex stood at the edge of a quiet, hidden village. The air was thick with the scent of rain-soaked earth, and the faint hum of a distant river echoed through the valley. In front of them stood a small wooden house with a blue door. This must be it, Alex whispered. He knocked twice. The door opened slowly, revealing an old man with sharp, kind eyes. Welcome, he said in a soft voice. I am the keeper of words. Why have you come? Clara stepped forward. We need your help. There's a message we can't understand. It's written in a language we don't know. The keeper nodded. To understand, you must first learn. Follow me. Inside the house, books and scrolls were piled high, creating a maze of knowledge. The keeper led them to a table where he placed a small notebook. On its cover, a single word was written: words. To solve the riddle, you must learn the most important words, he said. Repeat after me: water. Water, Clara repeated, her voice steady. Good. Now, food. Food, Alex echoed. The keeper continued, teaching simple but essential words like home, friend, help, and learn. Each word was written down, and the students practiced saying them over and over. Clara noticed how the keeper used the words in sentences. Water is life, he said. A friend will help you. Now, the keeper said, his voice serious, one final word: key. You must find it in this room. It's the word you need next. Clara and Alex exchanged puzzled looks. What do you think it means? Clara asked. They searched the room, repeating the words they'd learned aloud: water, friend, help, key. Finally, Clara found a small wooden box with key carved on it. Inside was a piece of paper with a single phrase: the answer is connection. What does it mean? Clara whispered. The keeper smiled but said nothing. Before they could ask more, the sound of footsteps outside grew louder. Someone was coming. Chapter 4: The Path of Sounds. It was a busy morning in the heart of the city. Clara and Alex stood in the middle of a crowded market. Stalls overflowed with colorful fruits, handmade crafts, and spices. People chatted loudly in different languages, and the air was filled with a mix of sounds: laughter, bargaining, and music. This is it, Alex said, holding up the clue they had decoded earlier. We need to find the next phrase, but it's hidden in the sounds around us. Clara looked around, feeling overwhelmed. How do we start? There's so much noise. Alex smiled. Start small. Listen carefully. Pay attention to what people are saying. Focus on one sound at a time. Clara took a deep breath. She walked to a nearby stall where a vendor was selling oranges. "Excuse me," she said, "how much are these?" The vendor replied with a kind smile, $2 for one. 3 for 5. Clara repeated softly to herself, $2 for one. 3 for 5. Then, louder, "Thank you." She turned to Alex. "I heard it, and I understood it." "Good," Alex said. "Now, listen again, but this time, repeat what you hear." They moved to another stall where a group of tourists was discussing their day. Clara focused on a woman saying, "I want to see the museum. It's near the park." Clara whispered the words, "I want to see the museum. It's near the park." Alex nodded in approval. "Good job," Alex said. "Now ask yourself, what do these words mean? Can you use them?" Clara nodded. "I want to see the museum too." She laughed, feeling more confident. But just as she was getting comfortable, a deep voice spoke behind her. "If you are looking for answers, follow me." She turned, but the man was already walking away into the crowd. Who was he? What did he know? Cliffhanger, Clara and Alex looked at each other. "Should we follow him?" Clara asked. The answer could change everything. Learning opportunities. Vocabulary practice: listen, hear, want, see, near, park, thank you. Shadowing: how much are these? I want to see the museum. Reflection question: what would you do? Would you follow the man? This chapter uses repetition, encourages interaction, and ends with a suspenseful moment to keep learners engaged. Chapter 5: The Truth About Babel. Clara and Alex stood in front of an ancient stone door. The air was cold, and the room was silent except for their breathing. The door was covered in symbols, words in different languages. Above the door, a phrase was carved: to understand is to connect. Clara whispered, "What does it mean? Is this the key?" Alex nodded. "We need to solve this, but how?" Look, these words, they're in English, Spanish, and even Chinese. Clara moved closer. Let's read them together. Maybe the answer is in the words. They began reading aloud. Listen to the words. Speak with your heart. Learn from others. Clara paused. These are simple ideas, but they feel important. Alex pointed to a line at the bottom. Clara, read this one. Together, we open the door. What do you think it means? Clara thought for a moment. Maybe it's not just about the words. Maybe we need to say them together. Let's try, Alex said, smiling. You take the first part, and I'll follow. They began, repeating the words slowly, their voices echoing in the room. Listen to the words. Speak with your heart. Learn from others. Together, we open the door. Shadowing moment. Try repeating these lines after them. Listen to the words. Speak with your heart. Learn from others. Together, we open the door. Suddenly, the symbols on the door glowed. The room shook slightly. A soft click echoed. "It's working!" Alex shouted. But before they could step forward, a loud voice boomed from behind. "Who dares to disturb the tower's secret?" Clara spun around. A shadowy figure appeared, holding a book covered in strange letters. His eyes narrowed. "You think you can take this knowledge so easily?" he said. What will Clara and Alex do next? Who is this man? Will they solve the mystery of Babel, or is this the end of their journey? To be continued. Chapter 6: Clara's Legacy. Clara stood at the center of the old library, surrounded by shelves filled with books in every language imaginable. The final message from the Tower of Babel was clear now. It wasn't about words or grammar, it was about people. Clara felt a new sense of purpose as she read the words out loud one more time. To connect is to understand. To speak is to listen. Alex, do you think they will understand this? Clara asked, holding the ancient parchment in her hands. Her voice was calm, but her heart raced. Alex nodded. Yes, Clara. People everywhere want to connect. That's the real power of language. She looked around at the faces of the crowd. Some people smiled. Others whispered to each other in languages Clara couldn't understand, but she could see it in their eyes. They understood her message. Now, Clara began, her voice steady but soft. This is where our story begins. The crowd leaned in closer. Clara took a deep breath and continued, her voice growing stronger. The Tower of Babel was never about one language. It was about every language. Words are keys. They unlock the hearts and minds of people. Alex stepped forward, holding up the strange device they had found along the way. It was glowing now, responding to Clara's words. What do you think will happen if we activate it? Alex asked. Clara paused. I don't know. But maybe it's time to find out. Turning to the crowd, Clara asked, what would you do? Would you press the button? Would you take the risk? The people murmured, and some shouted, yes. Others seemed unsure. Clara's hand hovered over the glowing button. She hesitated. What do you think, Alex? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. I think, Alex said, smiling, you already know the answer. With one final look at the crowd, Clara pressed the button. The device emitted a bright light, and everything around her began to shift and swirl. What is happening? She cried. The world blurred, and then, silence.